together. Good idea to keep a drip pan down here. I'm not sure if it'll back out since it's stripped, but let's see. Got lucky on that one. It's a good idea to check the oil pan that you have before you start trying to pull this one out. Because if you have any problems and you have the wrong oil pan, then you're in trouble. There's a few ways you can get this off. They do make a tool that you can slip up in there and cut the gasket maker. There is a couple pry points, but if you do pry, be really careful. You don't want to damage the surface of the block. The pan you don't really care about because you're changing it anyway. And in this case, since I am changing the pan, what I'm going to do is tap around this a few times and kind of just break that seal loose a little bit. Sometimes you can actually get the pan out that way. Sometimes you can't. Good chances are you're going to damage it. So if you're reusing the pan, I don't recommend doing this. But if you're replacing the pan, you've got many more options than if you're reusing the pan. So, and you can actually, when you start getting it loose, you can hear a different tone when you're tapping it. But I kind of doubt that I'll be able to get this one loose by tapping it, but I do want to kind of just shock that seal a little bit. See how that made a different sound? Just always make sure that you got all the bolts, because if you miss one at this point in time. Now, I did notice a sound change when I was pounding on this side, so I'm going to work on this side a little bit more and see if I can get that to start coming loose. So it's definitely sounding a little different than when I first started. It's not as solid as it was. I might start trying to pry at it a little bit. Again, if you pry, just be real careful not to damage the block. We're replacing the pan, so that doesn't really matter. If you're not replacing the pan, you want to be real careful about not scratching the surfaces. So if you do pry, you want to look for spots like this where you have a little bit of room to kind of get a screwdriver or a 5-weight or something like that in there, and just gently pry. You really do not want to damage the block. You do not want to damage the pan. It almost feels like there's another screw in here, but oh, there is actually. I just found 2 more. See, I'm glad I didn't go too much further. You guys, there's two more screws right up here. These are going to be 13 millimeter. So it's good to make sure that you're getting them all. Let's see if we can go out there. Alright, so had I gotten those bolts first, tapping it probably would have brought the pan down, but I'm going to go ahead and still pry on it. I've got gloves because the one that I'm working on is rather hot, so when I bring this down, I want to make sure I got some protection for my hand. So you can see how loose that was just from me tapping on it with the hammer. And you see I'm doing the majority of the prying on the pan, not on the block. This side is good. That's good places to pry. You see it there. It's a little. Now I won't video this because it'll be a little bit of scraping and stuff, but you want to go along here and clean up all this gasket material, get it all off, get a very nice clean surface there, so you have a nice proper mating surface, and also do the timing cover over here as well. Just make sure you get all that gasket material off and clean it up really good. Alright, once you get that all cleaned up, you're going to prep your pan. When you run your bead of silicone on your pan, I do recommend putting a little bit along the timing cover too, because those kind of slide and pinch together, so it can wipe the gasket maker off your pan when you put it on the pan too. So this front end, this front end here, so when you do silicone here, also do some silicone on the timing cover. As far as this part here goes, you don't put any silicone here, it's only going to go on this side, and then you'll wrap your silicone around the pan. I'm not going to show me lay my silicone down. I do it differently than most people, but it's worked for me for 35 years, so that's the way I'm going to do it, and then we'll get this up. But yeah, I'm using the Right Stuff 90-minute gasket maker. This stuff is actually really good. I used to swear by Honda Bond. I love Honda Bond, but it takes 36 hours to dry, and I just don't have that kind of time in my shop. So I've since switched to this, and it works amazing. Good stuff. One other thing to keep in mind when you put your gasket maker down, and you go to put your pan up, you really only have a couple minutes of work time before that gasket maker starts curing, so you want to do it rather quickly. Almost forgot the part number. One little tip before, when you have your pan ready to put up, before you do that, just go along and wipe the edge one more time with some parts cleaner, because a little bit of oil can drip down and get on that lip, which would cause you a leak, of course. So you want to make sure that that lip is nice and clean and dry before you put that pan up there. Okay, so I've got 2 of the side bolts ready to go, and this rag has parts cleaner in it. And what I'm going to do, I already put a little line of silicone on that timing cover. I'm just going to go through and make sure this is still dry and clean. Looks good to me. This is probably the hardest part. You just kind of want to slip this in place, but again, it's kind of a tight fit, so you want to make sure that you're getting it pretty proper on there. And then I just like to do I don't press really hard because I don't want the gasket maker to squirm around too much. So I'll get two sides started. And I'll take it snug with my fingers. That way I know it's up against the lip. Just get that snug, and that way the pan's not going to slide around. If we get oil drips in there, it's not going to get into the sealant, that kind of stuff. So, and then check and make sure on this side that you've got a good seal. This side's really prone to leakage because of the way the pan goes in there, so double check that. And it should be good to put your bolts in. And I just like to get them all started, and then I'll snug them up, and then we'll torque them. So make sure your bolts are free of old gasket maker on the tips, because you can crack the block if you push it through. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll very loosely tighten these up. Basically just snug. Like I just touch them to the metal. I don't even push them down. You want to crisscross when you're going up on this. The book, you want to do the time to cover bolts first. So I'm just going to very softly snug them up. These do not get a tight torque. They're only 89 inch-pounds. So when you snug them up, don't snug them up too tight. And then you want to torque these, alternate, so a switch, go back and crisscross kind of. Bell housing bolts. Now these two back ones, you really can't torque them. 35 foot-pounds isn't much at all, so just take it a little past snug, you'll be fine. Just go until you feel it stop, and then do like another eighth of a turn. Okay, and then we can do these 10 millimeters now. Make sure you crisscross on these. So just kind of take them, don't torque them at first all the way down, just take them down a little bit at a time. Crisscross. Go ahead and torque. And then with all of them torqued, I'll start and go all the way around in a circle just to make sure that I got every single one of them. And while you're torquing these, you can actually look at your bead and make sure that you got a good seal. You should be able to see the majority of it and see it squishing out nicely all the way around that pan. Once you got that up, get it there. Everything's torqued down, ready to add a filter and oil now. Now personally, before I add the oil, I will wait. It's a 90 minute set time on this. So I give it, actually, I'll wait probably about 2 hours before I add the oil, and then you'll be good to go. You can go ahead and put your filter on now. And then I also like to check the drain plug just to make sure it's snug, because I don't want to add oil, of course, and it'd be leaking afterwards. But make sure your drain plug's snug, because I've gotten a couple that were loose. Alright, so it's been 2 hours. I'm just finishing up on adding the oil now, and then we'll start it up and lift it up and see how it's looking underneath. Let's see how it looks. Don't see any leaks. You can shut off the vehicle and top off the oil, and you'll be good to go. There's your oil pan gasket or oil pan.